Hello, everyone, and welcome to another session of the virtual Global Bar Week. My name is Carlos Rodriguez, and I am the event director for Bar Convent Brooklyn. Now, good help has always been hard to find, but great hires may be missing from your radar. This session will outline the importance of actively recruiting minority employees to create a more vibrant and comprehensive bar environment. You will learn ways to attract qualified minority employees and increase your guest counts. Such an important and relevant session like this, of course, needs some authority behind it. So in this session, it will be delivered by no one else but the Cocktail Bandits, Johnny Caldwell and Taneka Reaves. Johnny Caldwell and Taneka Reaves are listed among Imbibe Magazine's 75 People to Watch in 2018 and have been named 2 of Charleston's 50 most progressive. These full-time Charleston beverage ambassadors met at the College of Charleston, and now, with their booming hospitality business and self-titled Cocktail Bandits blog, promote female empowerment through advocacy for the food and beverage community from a feminine, urban perspective. I'm really looking forward to hearing from these experts. And so, with all that being said, please take it away, ladies.
Hey everybody. Thank you for that glowing intro, Carlos. That was beautiful.
That was awesome. Thanks, for real.
We are definitely super excited to be attending Bar Convent. This is our first Bar Convent.
Yes, it is.
So we're excited to be able to learn and also share a little bit about what we do. With that being said, I'm Johnny Caldwell.
And I'm Taneka Reaves.
And we are the Cocktail Bandits.
Your curly ladies who talk cocktails daily.
And we are located in beautiful and historic Charleston, South Carolina. And that story aligns with our placement. You know, we are Charlestonians. I am a Charlestonian. We are both from South Carolina. So we definitely appreciate and love all of the food and beverage attention that our city gets. Not only just our chefs, but we have an amazing community of bartenders, bar backs, beverage owners, and also breweries here. So for us to be able to advocate for them all is an honor.
Yes, and you know, we focus on beverages, but shout out to everyone that's in the hospitality industry. We're talking about your maids, your janitors, your housekeepers, your people who, your concierges, your people that keep your regular life or your leisure life flowing. We're really grateful for those people, and they've made COVID very comfortable for us. So we just want to say thank you to all those guys.
Yeah, shout out to all the essential workers. We really appreciate you guys working through all of this time and still supporting us. And hopefully we can shed some light on how we can expand our staff and even our consumer base.
Absolutely.
So before we get into the topic at hand, let's give you guys a little bit more of a background on who we are as Cocktail Bandits. As I said, we are located in Charleston. Taneka and I met at the College of Charleston back in 2004. So you got to think about in that time in Charleston, we still were serving cocktails out of mini bottles. So our industry as a whole has changed so much in the last 15, 16 years. So once we finished college at the College of Charleston, I went to law school and Taneka went into the bar industry.
Yes, and when I got in the bar industry around 2009, it was because I was done talking about politics. I was over that scene. I just wanted to go somewhere that I knew I could make some cash after school and just really get into a different environment. I'm a socialite by heart, so just going into an industry where I could meet a lot of people and just see a different lifestyle was it for me at that time. And when I got into the industry in 2009, I got a job downtown at this really college-esque bar and realized that you could make a lot of money in beverages and that this could be a real life legit career. So I started working in other high volume bars in different urban areas in the city and realized that this could be a career that I could expand on. So I wanted to learn more about crafts and learn more about service. So during this time, Johnny was coming to all of my bars, tasting the different drinks, the different cocktails, giving me suggestions, and that would in turn excite other patrons at the bars and consumers to try the drinks as well. So I realized that, you know, cocktail making and cocktail curation was something that people was interested in.
And at this time, as she said, I was in law school. I really was spending a lot of time studying, focusing on the future, and I really enjoyed a lot of my time going into that bar. Before this time, I would definitely consider myself a passive consumer. You go out, you order from a menu, you don't really take into consideration the amount of craft and the intention that goes into, you know, plating a dish or creating a craft cocktail. So when Taneka would make these drinks for me, I really started to give more credence to it and really see that there was a whole lot more going on than just mixing a couple of spirits together and serving it to someone. So after I graduated from law school, I had a lot of difficulty finding work. And then I also found an emphasis on leisure time. Like you spend so much time working in that, on that wheel, grinding it out, that your leisure time, your time off is so important. And realized that it needed to be a combination of entertainment and also education. And so when I couldn't find work, Tanika and I were both together trying to figure things out and figure out what our next step was. And we said, what do we really love? What can we do every day and not get tired of it?
And that was drink.
It was drinking.
It was drinking,
Yeah.
Of course. And so we really became more aggressive in the industry and more intentional. We realized even downtown for me to find work in a fine dining establishment was difficult. I was a newly natural haired, no process sister, and people weren't used to seeing that image in the fronts of their bars. Actually, in Charleston, people are not used to seeing women in the front of house at all when it comes to restaurants. So just bringing that new look and that new perspective in a very homogenized city was just different and radical. So that's when we realized that we may need to look at other options. And we saw online that people were doing things with natural hair, with fitness, and even in culinary. And we wanted to bring that same perspective with beverages. And that's how Cocktail Bandits was born.
Yeah, we were trying to network and kind of figure out job opportunities and trying to meet people that could probably hire us. And we were always in bars and restaurants. And we really just kept seeing a lack of a female presence, and even more so a lack of an African-American female presence, especially in the front of the house. We would go in and we would talk to the bartenders and inquire, like, what's up with this cocktail? It's really awesome. Give me the story. And it would never be someone who looked like us.
Mm-hmm.
So we definitely took that energy. We supported all of our local bartenders and still do. We share all of their content. And that's when we started our Instagram page, Cocktail Bandits, to be a platform to bring attention and awareness to the amazing mixologists that we have in Charleston.
Yes, to bring acknowledgement and awareness to the bartenders, but also to show women, especially women of color, that you can go out to these bars and partake in a nice cocktail and a craft beverage or a new wine that you've never tried before. We wanted to break the stereotype in Charleston because it's still, whether people want to say it or not, it's still very segregated. So we wanted people to be empowered by going to these bars and going into a new place that they've never been into before, not only for themselves, but for patrons that already frequent these spaces, to see people of color going in and knowing what they want to drink, knowing what they want to sip on, and even bites. Because what we've realized in this research is when we did go to restaurants and bars, people automatically assumed that we wanted a sweet wine, or they automatically assumed that we didn't know what we were drinking on the menu. We've been served Blanco tequila many times when we asked for reposados and añejos because people didn't think that we knew the difference between each caliber. And not only physically, but when you look online socially at a lot of these brands, you don't see any people of color in the images. And we also thought that was problematic.
Right, so we use our platform and our voice to be able to bring awareness to this. Diversity and inclusion has always been a part of our brand mission and diversifying that space. I mean, we would go to bars and restaurants and we would be the only Black people in the entire space. Mm-hmm. But we took that as opportunity to encourage other minorities to come into those spaces as well. You have to occupy them, you have to experience them. And we all have to get used to the fact that we're all living in this shared space in Charleston and beyond. I mean, what's been really eye-opening is that we've seen this happen across the country. It's not isolated to just the South. I mean, we travel all over internationally, and here in the States, whether we're in LA or in Brooklyn, there's still a separation between races, genders, and ethnicities.
Yes, and we were talking about restaurants and bars, but even when you're talking about levels that we're on right now, platforms like Bar Convent Brooklyn or Tales, or even these major platforms, even like wine and food festivals that are citywide, you just don't see people of color in those spaces. A lot of them don't know that these things are going on. A lot of them are not marketed to at all. We have so many people in our DMs when we're at these events saying, we didn't know about this. We would have been there. Like, we would have signed up for this. This looks great. But because they're not being marketed to in any capacity, they're being left out of the conversation. And this is why we felt like a class like this was so important.
And then what's really ironic about this, or, you know, it's so present in our world, we already had this program in mind before the Black Lives Matter movement took off and before there was so much attention on the social injustice. So we had already made a commitment to bringing awareness and also offering suggestions and tips on how we can actually have actionable change. So we came up with the program Inclusivity Increases Profits, because we wanted to give restaurateurs, staffing managers, brand reps, content creators online, some actionable tools that they can actually apply to increase and diverse their employee pool and just the people that they invite into their own spaces.
Absolutely. And we also have done this class in other cities, and we've also used the, you know, title Marketing to Minorities, and it got a little bit of, you know, backlash only because, you know, people took the word minority as offensive. And when we're talking about minority, it's not just a black and white thing. We have realized in the community that a lot of people have been ostracized. We're talking about people who are in wheelchairs. We're talking about people who may be blind or deaf. We're talking about people who just are not in the conversation when we're talking about going out and having a good time on your leisure, like Johnny was saying earlier.
So we really wanted to speak to them and to really, you know, shed the light on some of the unconscious bias that we all have. I mean, there are plenty of times we're at a festival and there's no way for a wheelchair to get through, and it doesn't even click in one's mind that that isn't an option because they're not considering those people.
Mm-hmm.
They're not marketing to those people. So we just wanted to be able to put it together. And also we get asked by brand reps all the time, why do people of color drink Ciroc? Why do people of color, you know, enjoy Hennessy so much? And there's so many different reasons for that. But we want to create a space where people can feel comfortable asking those questions, because some of these issues that we have is, you know, lack of communication. There isn't a space for people to have open dialogue about things that can be uncomfortable.
Yes, creating a bridge for all sides to be able to get together and converse about some of these tough issues. You know, just even with COVID and everything that's going on, we just haven't had a safe space in the hospitality world to talk about things that can be changed. And this is the perfect time for change.
So again, like Taneka said, when we talk about minorities, we're talking about people who are underrepresented and whatever that means inside your market. We want people to feel as though that the diverse staff contributes to more people feeling included, feeling welcome in that space. Especially if you have a mission statement that speaks to diversity and inclusion, you have to have some type of actionable thing that you're all doing to push diversity and to encourage inclusion on your staff. So if your mission is going to say that, you need to be having some people of color who are working not just as assistants, people who have an actual voice on the board, people who can actually, you know, institute some type of guideline that the business is going to follow in order to meet that mission. So the first thing is, if you are putting it out there that your brand mission, your business mission is to be diverse, you have to not just talk about it, you have to be about it. You have to be uncomfortable and go into those spaces and put people in positions who feel more comfortable having that conversation. So we've been approached by many businesses to have that opening dialogue with their staff, with their employees, and just get the conversation started. Start there.
Yes, that's a great suggestion. Also, when you're talking about marketing to people who really don't represent your base, focus groups. Focus groups are really important because they don't have to be a staff member per se, but this could be someone that's in your neighborhood. This can be someone that lives in the community. This can be someone that's well-versed in whatever spirits you're offering or whatever specialties that you're offering for your establishment. Creating a focus group gives you different perspectives that you don't have yourself. If you have someone that's in a room with you and you're giving out suggestions about how you're marketing or how you're going out and publicizing your space, you need people who don't look like you to give you perspective in their communities, because what works in one community may not work in another community. And a lot of times restaurants and businesses open up in spaces that a lot of people don't look like them, and they don't bring any of the people from that community into their establishment. They're missing out on half of the base that could easily walk to their establishment, but they're trying to market to what they're comfortable with. And in turn, they're hurting themselves and the community.
So marketing is such a strong way to encourage diversity and inclusion. So you got to think about where you're putting your marketing dollars.
Yeah.
If you're only advertising in a Condé Nast or
Southern Living
magazine, you're only going to meet a certain demographic. If you are trying to be intentional about meeting the African American market, you need to look at advertising in an Essence magazine, in Travel Noir. Do a quick search and just put in African American leisure websites and find and support those websites. I mean, those people are targeting people who look like us and encouraging them to do the things that your company wants them to do: travel, try new wines, go different places. So market there specifically. I mean, we have trade shows. Here in Charleston, we have the Black Taste. So that's a great way to reach people who obviously have inclination towards food and beverage, who they're already going to this food event. Why not market to them and put on their radar the event that you guys are hosting as well?
Yes, and even talking about marketing on a digital level, we have Cuisine Noir, Travel Noir. There are a lot of different travel sites, not only for people that are Black and African American, but talking about the Hispanic and the Latina community. We're talking about people who are African, people who are straight. I mean, there's just so many spaces now digitally, especially with the COVID, where you can go online and find places to market. Even on your social media platforms, have diverse people holding your beverages, holding the food, socializing and enjoying the space, just so people can see that image and feel like they belong. You'd be surprised how many brands we work with, and then we go on their social media platforms and there's no one that looks like us. So it seems very tokenized for them to work with us because we haven't seen anyone of color on their pages, and that can be problematic as well.
And the marketing to your consumer base is just as important when you're advertising for a job opportunity.
Yeah.
If you're advertising in the same Indeed or in the same pool of applicants, you're going to get that same pool of people come in to apply for that job. You're going to have to go outside of your network, advertise in different magazines, maybe talk to a friend of yours who you know who's in the industry, who you respect, who is, not of your own race, and ask them if they can recommend someone. We always have people on standby who are ready, willing, and qualified to work on these tasks. All we need to do is get the opportunity. And we can't do everything. So we love being able to say, this isn't a good fit for us, but we know someone who we can vouch for who will be great for this.
Absolutely. And it's so important to hire people of color because they may speak a language that you really can't speak. I know in Charleston, the Gullah Geechee dialect is very prevalent in hospitality, like just all over the city. And to have a manager or a head of your front of house being Geechee Gullah and being able to talk about the descendants, talk the culture, that's just beneficial for your brand because you're not having to just speak for someone. There's someone there that can speak for themselves. And that means a lot, especially in Charleston, where the Gullah Geechee people are so proud and prideful of what they've been able to create in this space.
And we should. I mean, the people here in Charleston have been instrumental to our food, beverage, hospitality since it was created.
Yeah.
There's so much of the people who were actually doing it hands-on that there wasn't any record keeping. So we don't have names, we don't have pictures of those people, but we know that they were present. So it's also part of our duty, our obligation to shed light on all the contributions African Americans have made to our food and beverage ways. I mean, we have contributed to, in Charleston here, rice cultivation. Some of our most important and well-known dishes, shrimp and grits, are from chefs of African descent, former enslaved Africans. Red rice, okra soup, all these things that are attached to Charleston are actually attached to African culture. So it's up to us to make sure that we all know the connection, because it does instill a sense of pride in you. If you feel as though you have always been a part of this industry, you've always been a part of people eating and feeling good, you'll be more inclined to participate in the industry and not feel as though it's a passing job, but you can really have a career.
Exactly. And piggybacking off of that, we hear a lot of brands and a lot of people say that they're colorblind. And we ask people not to be colorblind, but be colorful. Like there's just so much more to offer in the world besides a very homogenous, same look. And the way the world's working now, like different is in, it's what's going on. And with different people and different cultures, there are different looks that people have to get acclimated to. Like right now we have our braids, but our logo has our fro because we have afros. like people of color just have different hairstyles, and it's not anything wrong with that. It should be something that's embraced and accepted because it brings diversity and a different look to your establishments.
And with that color blindness, there are a lot of cultural differences
Yeah.
that people overlook as well. You know, if you have staff that is Jewish, are you guys observing those Jewish holidays?
Yeah.
If you have a staff, you know, that's diverse, are you guys playing culturally diverse music for your, not just for your staff to enjoy, but for your consumers to enjoy?
Yeah.
Is your bar selection diverse? Do you have a selection of cognacs, selection of bourbons, a section of brands that you know a certain group may identify with? That would make someone feel a whole lot more comfortable. They come into your bar for the first time. The menu is unfamiliar, but the spirits are. So they feel as though I know I can order at least one drink because I'm familiar with the spirit that's on the menu.
Especially a drink that they don't have to be sold or upsold to. Like they just go and purchase that, and you don't have to convince them about how good it is.
So just being fully aware of the fact that we are all different. And just because you're different doesn't mean that there's something that's wrong with that.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that, you know, everyone can benefit from, a richer conversation when there's more voices and different backgrounds and engage in the dialogue.
Absolutely. And going back, we were also talking about language barriers with the Geechee Gullah dialect. There are many dialects that are in America. I mean, we're a nation full of immigrants. So being open to different dialects like Patois and Creole, and even having translators in your establishment, so you don't have to fight through that. There's someone there that can actually speak the language and the guests can be comfortable. It's all about making your guests comfortable in these situations.
Right. No one wants to work in a space where they're not comfortable. No one wants to come into an establishment and spend their hard-earned money and not feel as though they're being appreciated and that they're not really being served. There have been several times we've been at restaurants where we had to wait to be addressed. We had to wait for our water to be refilled. And sometimes it's a matter of bad service, but sometimes it's a matter of someone being prejudiced. And we have to point that out when that happens. And the best way to prevent against that is to educate and to train your staff to spot those things and how to react in those moments better.
And be sensitive in those moments. A lot of people, especially here in Charleston, I can't really speak other places that we go, but in Charleston, I think that the bottom line has been it's been so focused on making the money that the people just totally ignore how people feel. And they just think that we're just gonna get them out in and out, just getting heads in beds. And instead of just really enriching this homogenous culture with the culture that's naturally here, it's just an easy sell. And it would bring so much more people here and make them more comfortable in the city.
Since this summer and the real attention being put on civil unrest and social injustice, we've been hearing a lot of brands taking time off and requiring their employees to read, to watch movies, to educate themselves. We definitely want to encourage that. You can in no way unindoctrinate yourself in a matter of months.
Yeah.
It's going to take years. It's going to take stumbles. It's going to take situations that are uncomfortable for you and people around you to really get it embedded into your practice about being anti-racist. We gotta call it what it is. We have to really have an intention and a deliberate mindset to be anti-racist. And you have to really have a commitment. That's why we also encourage you to have it in your mission statement. Really let everyone know who is working with you, working for you, that you guys are intent on being more diverse and more inclusive in all of your actions, and make a commitment to that and have a goal in mind. We're on several boards here in Charleston. We've had to talk to our membership and say, hey, it's nice to talk about it, but we have to really put action and our money behind what we're doing and really target and engage people who we want to be a part of our membership. You should do the same.
Yes, absolutely. And even with those barriers with language, we can talk about deaf and blind people with our menus, with how we're marketing to them. Like, are there Braille menus? I haven't seen a Braille menu ever. And when you're talking about deaf people, I haven't seen a menu with sign language on it. I mean, I know you can read and everything too, but do you have waiters that can do sign language? Are you hiring people who can do sign language? It's just certain things that we don't think about at all because we have the privilege of being able to see and hear and speak properly. And so it's like, what is missing in your space and how can you attract that group of people into it.
And also when it comes to upward mobility and transparency, make sure that you have a structure for promotion within your business. It's really discouraging for someone who wants to start off as a bar back or a dishwasher and they don't know the route to becoming a bartender or a bar manager. It can also feel as though you're playing favorites if this person gets promoted after 6 months and this person doesn't get an offer and they've been there for 2 years. So make it an even playing field, lay out the requirements that you need to move up within the company or to qualify for training or, offer your members membership in the USBG, somewhere for them to feel as though you're being invested in them outside of just when they clock in and clock out. You're going to get the best out of your employees if they feel like they're a part of a family and not just a staff member. So lay out how they can increase and grow within themselves and not have them always looking for the next opportunity, because you really want to, if you're going to invest this much into your employees, you want to keep them on as long as you can. We love our assistant, Julia. She's amazing. We've invested in her and we want to keep her. So we definitely have to have open lines of communication, and you have to let people know their worth on your staff.
And training is just so important, letting them learn as you learn. Like, we don't know all the answers. We're figuring all of this stuff out. But if you know there's a problem with diversity and inclusion in your space, you need to give people the opportunity to learn and grow and train so they can have the sensitivity to be able to deal with different cultures, because that's where it is now. We're in a globalized world and you have to know how to deal with different cultures. Everything isn't based off of our perspective or your perspective. We really need the collective to really serve the collective.
And also to believe people when they tell you that they feel as though they're being unjustly treated. We have to keep that going as well. If someone is coming to you, it's so difficult to go to an employer. In most bars, there isn't an HR person anyway.
Yeah.
But if you do get the gumption to go and report a claim, you need to respect these people's accusations and follow through on them. Can you imagine to feel as though you're the only person in your space, and then you go and you make a claim and no one takes you seriously? How isolating that can feel, how alone you can feel in that space. I mean, that is why a lot of people just quit. I mean, the turnover in food and bev is ridiculous because that support isn't there. So consider having someone, either independent contractor or someone on your staff who your employee can go to and invoice any grievances without any fear of retaliation.
Yeah, that's a good one. And for a big one is actively recruiting. Like, you have to find people that can fill these spaces that you know are lacking in your space. Like, for us, the biggest thing was this girl found us online who saw our blog, and she said that our blog could be in book form. And then once we got that information and got that, confidence, we believed that too. That wasn't even something that we were thinking about at that time when we were approached about the opportunity. But with her believing in us and seeing something and knowing that her publication had never produced anything from women of color, she actively reached out and found us. And that's how we became the first African-American women to write a book about cocktails in the country.
Speaking of which,
yes, the book is called Holy Spirits: Charleston's Culture Through Cocktails. And in this book, we talk about stories from our own personal lives. We talk about old Charleston's folklore and stories that we've heard that we haven't found in any documentations. And we write about our own custom recipes and our own personal drink culture here in Charleston.
And yes, we are the first women to write this book. We're incredibly proud about our contribution to the industry and to foodways, but we also want to encourage other people to write their stories too. Every state, every county, every country has a beverage story and customs. And whenever we travel, we always ask, what do people drink here? What's the cocktail of this area? And there's always a story behind that. We need more records. We need more of these stories being put into print, online, so that we can all feel as though some part of the history is connected to you, because it all is. We're all a part of creating our nation's story and why we drink and dine the way that we do.
Yes, and to go further into the book, because why not? We are the very first women of color to be on front of a publication on any of their books in their, collection. And this company has been around for a really long time. So that's an honor. And it's sad, it's 2020 and we're still at the first in a lot of things, but it's also a blessing to be able to inspire other people who look like me or who don't look like me to do something out of their norm and something that they love, and know that they'll have support if they just keep at it.
Representation really does matter. And I will never get over when I see a young little girl with hair like mine who sees this book and is inspired and connects and smiles. That is probably the most fulfilling thing that I received from this book. So please check us out on Amazon. We're on Barnes & Noble, even on our website, cocktailbandits.com. There's a link to purchase the book there. And definitely find us on social media. We're always trying to release content that's going to educate, entertain, and empower you through craft cocktail advocacy.
Yes, and we don't want to be too long on this webinar. We know that we are in COVID times, and attention is a lot lower, so we want to respect your time and all of that good stuff. But we want you guys to, if you have any questions or you want to continue this dialogue, please look us up on all social media outlets. We're at Cocktail Bandits. If you want to send an email, we're www.cocktailbandits.com. And a personal email to get directly to us is cocktailbandits@gmail.com. We love talking about this type of stuff. Sometimes it's difficult, but it's necessary work. And we are always open to a discussion and learning more.
That's right. We can all learn and get better at this communication thing. And we definitely want to keep the communication going. So as Taneka said, we also respond to DMs.
Yeah.
We're on Snapchat. We do a little bit of TikTok, trying to cover all the bases.
Yeah.
So yeah, follow along the journey. We have a really, really good time, and the drinks are always good.
And speaking of collaborations, we're always open to collaborating. We know this is an amazing platform for our convent. We're so honored. Wish we could be there in person, but hey, we have to make it do what it do. But we would love to collaborate with any beverage folk, hospitality folk. We are with everything, and we're down here in the South waiting to bring our perspectives even more.
That's right. So yeah, hoping to see you guys in person in 2021.
Yeah.
Carlos.
Thanks so much, Carlos.
All right. Well, it's good to know. Thanks for letting me know I can slide into those DMs if I need to.
Yes.
But Johnny and Taneka, thank you so much for that incredibly useful information. And now I know our audience, this is Global Bar Week, and we have people from all over the world, viewing this. And I know that all over the world, everyone might be just on a slightly different stage of their journey to kind of eliminating bias and ensuring full representation. So understand that. But for everyone who's listening from a U.S. perspective, from South Carolina perspective, or anywhere in the U.S., the very fact, picking up on what you said, that you were the first women of color to be on the cover of one of that publishing house's books. The fact that you even need to have a conversation to say it's okay to have my hair like this.
Yeah.
Tells you it's not hyperbole. Everyone who's listening, this is this is a real thing. So thank you so much again for your talk. You did what I think is one of the best things you can do in a webinar, and that's provide our audience of people watching actionable insights.
Yeah.
I just wanted to pick up on a couple of things. Anyone who's watching this, I suppose the thing that you need to ask yourselves is, what are you doing? What am I doing? What am I actually doing? Am I marketing to communities and channels involving Black, Indigenous, and people of color groups? And as Johnny and Taneka have shown us, the channels are out there. They are. So am I doing that? But even a sub-step before that is it at the forefront of my thinking? Is it even occurring to me?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, are we actually thinking about all the channels and the communities that we want to? Remember, your end goal is you're only going to grow your business. You're only going to grow your customer base. So is it at the forefront of my thinking? Am I marketing to all those channels? Another thing that you said that I wanted to pick up on is that Johnny and Taneka have provided you great resources to help you with those questions, right? So as well as themselves and organizations like the Cocktail Bandits that you can actually reach out to and have these questions if you don't know. Another thing is by actually having a diverse staff, you won't necessarily have to think of these things. You've got teams that will think of these things for you. So that in itself kind of is a great takeaway to be thinking about, when you're thinking about the things that Johnny and Taneka said. Do you have the staff of color to help you with the above? Again, know this is a complex issue, but you've got all the resources that you need, not least of which are the great Cocktail Bandits. And then I just wanted to end on the one thing that you said is, which is just a lesson that we can all learn and all remind ourselves is, don't just talk about it, be about it. Ladies, again, thank you so much. Extremely informative to have you with us at Bar Convent Brooklyn and being part of Global Bar Week. You are what at Bar Convent Brooklyn. So super happy to have you to do this. Thank you so much again. And to everyone at home, I hope you found this interesting, insightful, informative. You got some great takeaways. And although we can't be together in person, right after this, how about we raise one and say cheers to everybody? So thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Cheers, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.